Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyper Roll from Mission for Tuition. It's called that because we are trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school tuition. He needs to go to a ridiculously expensive special school. We're not asking for donation. There's no GoFundMe. There's nothing like that. It's all about views. And you liking, commenting, subscribing, and doing stuff like that helps the video get out to more people, thus getting more views, thus making more money for tuition, and it all works in one big giant circle. And with that said, let's get this build started. And it's going to be pretty simple. It's one I've talked about before. We're going to be heading in the direction of Yordle Scrap. The reason I dumped Ziggs early is because the needlessly large rod is not an item I want on Ziggs. And even though in my head I know I'm going Yordle because I already got a Lulu, I still buy out the initial board just in case things do not go as planned. But I'm going to be looking to my augments, and I already have a perfect item for Corki in the Jeweled Gauntlet. So if I can get an augment that's friendly, I'm going to go with it. And Stand United is a fantastic augment for Yordle Scrap. And you'll see why as the game goes on. Now, with every Yordle build, you're rolling early and often because you want to get as many Yordles as possible. But with Yordle Scrap, it's also important that you pick up certain specific champions to fit in the build. Blitzcrank is one of them, and that's because he is going to tick 2 boxes. He is both a bodyguard and a scrap, and so that will lead to 2 additional traits being ticked. Now, when I run Yordles, things like Nico's Help and Loaded Die are absolutely key, so even though Tira the Goddess is a key item for Corki later on, I'm gonna take the Nico's Help because that might help me take someone from 2 to 3 stars, from silver to gold, just when I need them to be. Now let's talk about one of the problems of going Yordle this season. This is one of the 3 other teams, yes, half of this lobby is going Yordle. And this becomes a giant game of chicken. I'm fairly confident in my end game because I picked up Stand United early and I already have Blitzcrank, so I know I'm going to be able to hit a lot of boxes, so I'm not getting scared off of it just because of one loss. I go ahead and put out Blitz so I can tick a couple of those boxes, and then I get Corki, and this is one of the reasons I was confident. Corki's only a 2 cost, so he's easy to get, and I had a perfect item for him just ready to go. And of course we're going to face another Yordle team. This one appears to be going with Yordle Bodyguard, which I'm not too afraid of in the long run, because mine is going to be heavily magic damage base since I have the Jeweled Gauntlet on Corki, but they are going to be able to beat me right now because they're in a stronger position. And now it's time to face the third other Yordle team. This is one I can actually beat, although it's a large part because I moved Blitz up front, which was able to hold them in place, giving my champions a chance to do enough damage to take them over. But yep, 4 Yordle teams, so when I talk about always running into Yordle teams all the time, I'm not kidding. This is what it's like. Heading into my second augment, I'm a little concerned about my items, and I considered going Golden Gifts, but Luden's Echo is going to be so much more effective since Corki is going to be casting, hopefully, early and often if I can get the right items, which preferably are Jeweled Gauntlet, Infinity Edge, and Blue Buff, but you can't always guarantee it, so you just want to get as much of it as possible. And we finally get to face not a Yordle team, but it does have a Yordle on it, but it's not a Yordle-based team. They're heading in a different direction. It seems to be some type of Syndicate Enchanter thingy-madoodle going on. I'm not exactly sure, but it didn't hold up very well in this case, as we were able to do enough damage to take them down. I've decided to stick with Yordle for this game because I really like Stand United on Yordle. Gnar as a socialite gives you another tick in the Stand United buff. Once I'm able to put out Vex, that will be another tick. I'm also ultimately going to be looking for Jinx, which will give me Twin Shot and an additional scrap, and as well as Irelia, which will give me an additional scrap plus Tick Striker. This NPC round was pretty friendly because it gave me an Infinity Edge and then a Tear of the Goddess. So I'm going to be able to get most of Corki's items together. I ultimately really want that last one to be a blue buff or a Spear of Sojin, but it's not 100% necessary. There are lots of other ways to go from there. And again, we managed to escape facing another Yordle team, although I gotta think a lot of this lobby is getting frustrated because they're running into them pretty much every other fight. Keep an eye on Corki because he does a ton of damage and weakens the entire team so that Gnar and Poppy can finish them off, but Corki leads the damage charts by a lot. And the key to Yordle positioning remains pretty much the same as last season. You clump everyone together with your front line trying to hold people in place, and Corki has taken the place of Heimer, doing AP damage from the back. In this case, we got really lucky because the Socialite Hex was in the back, so Corki fit right into it. The final NPC round was not exceptionally kind in any respect. We did not get the completed blue buff or Spear of Sojin, and these are not the most useful augments in the world. I don't need Jeweled Lotus as I already have a Jeweled Gauntlet on Corki. I decide to go ahead and go with Weak Spot so I can just reduce their healing, but instead of a blue buff, I'm going to go ahead and put the Static Shiv onto Corki, so at least he's starting off by casting, and then we'll be doing additional damage and reducing their magic resist throughout the rest of the match. Now, with half the lobby running Yordles, I knew I couldn't escape them from long, and this is the one that's going to give us the most trouble. They already have their Jinx in, and she's got a Bloodthirster. I've decided to stay with my Blitz for now, just because he's ticking more boxes for what I need. But their Jinx does a ton of damage, falling right in front of my Corki, and they're able to take me out. I'm just hoping I can continue to hold on till when I have the complete build together. Now, luckily, having taken Weak Spot, teams like this are not going to be too much of a problem. Cho's healing is going to be reduced so that Redemption is not going to be much help, and Corki will quickly dispatch him. The next NPC gave me a Redemption, but then a very difficult choice. Bodyguard and Arcanist were not going to work. But Hand of Justice or Archangel Staff could work. Hand of Justice would go on Jinx, because that would help her with healing and whatnot. Archangel Staff would go on Vex, which would allow her to be a little bit more tanky as her shield would be more powerful. I decided to go with Archangel Staff because I feel that if there's any weakness in my team, it's that things are getting into my backline a little bit too quickly. So I'd rather have more tankiness up front to hold things back. And of course, because half the lobby is going Yordle, it's a Yordle team that we're going to be facing. Although, in all honesty, I'm not particularly thrilled with their build. Their Corki doesn't make sense. They went AD, and it looks pretty easy to take down, which is what I was able to do. And then other people eliminated each other, putting us into the top 4. Now we are now 1 Corki away from gold, so I'm going to roll down and see if maybe I can get lucky, although it's unlikely because so many people are running Yordle. So I'm going to use my Nico's help because Corki is the key to my build in the Socialite Hex, and I want them to be really powerful. And I look through the rest of the teams, and I'm pretty happy to see we've gotten rid of 2 of the Yordle teams, and we're left against Mutants and another Yordle team. I've been having a pretty decent time with the Mutants because it's Adrenaline Rush and they're not able to get in quick enough, and we've been able to take them down. I come through the NPC round with another Nico's help and an additional Jinx, so I can grab the Infinity Edge, put that on Jinx, and take her up to 2 stars. Notice also that I now have the completed build. It includes 8 different traits being ticked, which is why I like Stand United so much for Yordle Scrap and why I felt comfortable sticking with it despite so many other Yordle teams being out there. We are getting a ton of additional power through that augment and through just the champions and the synergies that we have on the board. We're able to grab that Malzahar out of the corner and then watch how fast everything goes down, because Corki is just that strong. And with that, our ghost team handles the other team, and we come out of it as the king of the Yordles. So just because you see a bunch of Yordles, don't necessarily back off. Look at what the augments are, look at what your items are, look at how it's going, and then decide. Hope you enjoyed the video and have an absolutely, absolutely awesome day.